It's me, Aaron, Professor Thorgy, your guide to all things geeky, and welcome to another episode of Comic Class, the show every single Wednesday on this channel where we just geek out about comic books. And this is it. This is our final part 3 of our look at DC Rebirth, in which I go down every single one of the titles that have been announced and just break them all down. And I know I was supposed to do it last week, but if you watched our episode last week, I was sick. Like, really sick. So I did not have the strength to get as hyped as I needed to be to talk about all these books. But I'm rested, I'm recovered, I'm something that resembles healthy, so I am ready to finally talk about August and September for DC Rebirth. Now, I'm actually kind of glad that I didn't get to record last week, because in that week, DC actually put out this. It's a free magazine that you can find at your comic book store. Go and ask them if they got it, but it is a free magazine that actually details all the books that are going to be coming out in their DC Rebirth relaunch, and Rebirth is still being kept a very big secret. But if you open up to the back cover, oh, wrap around, what's this? It's our old favorite universe, and then it's the old Earth 2 World War II heroes. Oh my goodness, what's going on? Listen, I don't know what Rebirth is going to be, but this actually has me really excited that they mean it when they say, we're going to bring back the stuff that worked. It's like, okay, are you going to actually have history? Are you going to actually drop this whole, the heroes have only been around for 5 years? Because I'm sorry, that makes no damn sense, and it actually takes away a lot of what was special about DC Comics. So, are you actually going to, like, restore a little bit of the history to your world? This actually has me really excited just looking at this back cover here. But okay, as I said, if you go to your comic shop and you pick this up, there's actually a lot of new information in here about the DC Rebirth, as well as some new artwork. This relaunch is actually looking pretty darn good. But I'm going to be using some of this new information as I cover the final books that we're going to talk about. So let's get started with the books that are going to be coming out in August. Okay, first book we gotta talk about is Cyborg. Now, I love Cyborg. He is one of my favorite members of the Teen Titans, and I was super excited to see him finally, after all this time, get his own book. And I picked it up, I was like, this is pretty darn good. However, it was being written by David Walker, and I love David Walker. He is an amazing writer. His Shaft series is stunning. His Power Man and Iron Fist is maybe my favorite book that Marvel is putting out right now. It's in their top 5. And his Cyborg was like, this is good. It's good. So I don't feel like David Walker was the best choice for Cyborg, because yeah, it was good, but I wanted it to be amazing. And I'm reading the description for this upcoming Cyborg series, and I hate starting us off on a downer, but it doesn't get me all that excited. First off, the storyline is that Cyborg has to face the fact that maybe he really is dead, and he's just a machine walking around with human parts. Is he really human after all? It's him facing his humanity, which sounds like an amazing Cyborg story, except it's the Cyborg story that we always get. Seriously, that is always the Cyborg story that we get. And I'm tired of it. I am. Like, don't get me wrong, that story is super important to Cyborg's character. It really is. It is one of the defining things about his character. However, it's not the only thing about his character. And I feel like that's the only way that people write him. I'm ready to see other sides of Cyborg at this point. I'm ready for the, what does Cyborg do when he's not facing his own humanity storyline? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the Cyborg in the Teen Titans cartoon, but I'm not coming in here and saying, oh, just make him like that. However, a little pinch of that Cyborg wouldn't hurt, just add a little bit of life and levity to that character, because in the New 52, he's been such a downer all throughout it. I want to see Cyborg get some friends. And they've tried hooking him up with Shazam, which has been fun to see, but nah, he needs Beast Boy. He needs some guy who he can just chill out with 24/7. Some guy who makes Cyborg actually realize how cool it actually is to be Cyborg, to be a superhero. In fact, that actually was one of the things that I did like about David Walker's run on, is that it actually did show Cyborg in his day-to-day life, and there were actually moments in which he was having fun. And I was like, that's actually pretty awesome to see that. I'm not getting that sense from that description I just read about this. Also, the guy writing it is John Semper. And if you don't know who that is, it's because this is the first comic he's ever written. In fact, I was looking at his resume. He really hasn't done much in the past couple of years. The last really noticeable thing that I saw in his resume was that he worked on the Spider-Man cartoon that came on when I was a kid. And don't get me wrong, when I was a kid, I loved that Spider-Man cartoon. However, I've gone back and watched it recently. It did not age well at all. So yeah, Cyborg, he's one of my favorite DC characters, but looking at the description for this and the staff on it, listen, maybe I will be delightfully surprised. Let's move on to the next book. Next up is Suicide Squad. Now DC has a lot of their hopes placed on Suicide Squad because the movie's coming out and they're hoping that's going to be a massive success, and the trailers look pretty darn good. I think it probably will be. So they want this book to be great, and that is why they're putting Rob Williams on this book. And when I read that, I lost my mind. I was so excited. And then I realized I was really excited because I misread it and thought it said Josh Williamson. Yeah, for anybody out there who doesn't know, Josh Williamson is the guy over at Image who is writing Nailbiter, which is a fantastic series that is all about a town that is loaded with serial killers. And he's also writing Birthright, which is this gritty fantasy story about barbarians possessed by evil demon spirits. And I was like, oh my god. The guy who writes those books is going to write Suicide Squad? That is a natural fit. And I know he's working for DC right now because he's going to be writing their Flash book, which seemed like a really weird pairing to me. But he is also going to be writing Suicide Squad. That is a natural fit. And then I realized I read that name way too quickly and I saw Williams and thought it was Williamson, but it's not, it's Williams. It's Rob Williams, the guy who is writing Martian Manhunter. And I love Martian Manhunter. I do. That is actually one of my favorite series that DC has been putting out. That book is great. So yeah, I fully believe this guy can do a good Suicide Squad story. In fact, he just wrote the Suicide Squad and Harley Quinn's April Fool's Day special, and I read it, and I thought it was okay. I did. Thought it was okay. The Amanda Waller stuff in there was really cool, but I'll be totally honest with you, the Harley Quinn stuff in that issue, found a little bit boring. I did. Found a little bit boring, found a little bit even annoying at times, I'll be totally honest with you. But Harley Quinn, to me, has always kind of been one of those characters that's like, I really like you when you're in a book with other people. But when I'm reading your solo adventures, yeah, I don't know. And that issue was basically her solo adventures, so I can't really judge how he's going to write her in a team book. However, I have to go back to the fact that they have Josh Williamson, the guy who writes Nailbiter, working for them on Flash instead of Suicide Squad. Did he just say no? Did you offer it to him and he was like, listen guys, I'm trying to do something different here? Because if that's the case, fine. But if you were trying to figure out who to write this and his name never even came up once, I'm gonna raise some questions. Okay, next up, ready for the biggest WTF of this entire relaunch? Deathstroke is coming back, which makes a lot of sense. It does, totally makes sense. He is a very popular character over at DC. In fact, his current series is selling very well. And the new writer on this book is going to be Christopher Priest. What? Yeah, okay, some of you might be saying, well, why is that such a big WTF thing? I'll tell you why. Christopher Priest used to work over at Marvel. He did several books for them, and in fact, he is actually the guy who made Black Panther famous. Before him, Black Panther was kind of a jokey character. He even brings that up in interviews, that when they asked him to write Black Panther, he was like, are you kidding me? This guy's a joke. He's some African prince who dresses up like a kitty cat, and what? This makes no sense. Why on earth do you want me to write this? He's the guy who came in and made that guy badass. He is the one who made Black Panther the character that everyone loves today. However, he also, shortly after doing that, basically gave the finger to everyone in the business and said, screw all of you, I'm never working with any of you again, ever. In fact, if you ever get a chance to read an interview by Christopher Priest, he, to this day, continuously burns bridges. This is me flicking matchsticks as I burn bridges. That's what this is. I realize this could look like numerous things. I'm gonna stop that. But anyway, he continuously will just go, yeah, no, that guy, that guy over there, I don't even know him, but him, he was in the room when some shit went down. This guy hated working at Marvel, and even if all the people he worked with are gone, he's still just like, nah, all big comic book companies, they're all evil. And he's coming back to work for DC? This is wild. Now, the pitch behind this new Deathstroke series is that he and his entire family, all of whom hate him, all now have targets on their head. Someone has put a hit out on each of them. So now the hunter has become the hunted, and he has to figure out who put this hit out on him and also kind of reconnect with his estranged family. It's actually kind of a cool concept for a Deathstroke series, and they're promising a lot more personal look at Deathstroke and a lot more, quote, nuanced look at him. That's the term that they used, and yeah, Christopher Priest is kind of the guy to write that. I'll admit, a lot of the dialogue and the way that he has characters speak hasn't really matured past the 90s, but he still really knows how to craft a story. I mean, especially talking about a personal and nuanced tale. Go and look at what he did after he left Marvel. After he left Marvel, he went over to Valiant Comics and he created Quantum and Woody. You've probably heard me on this channel talk numerous times about the current relaunched Quantum and Woody, which is one of the best comedy series out there. But back when Christopher Priest created these characters, it was not just a great comedy, but also a very personal and touching story. Like, you read that and it's like, oh man, this is coming from a really deep place. So I want to say I'm super excited about this, because that does sound like something that's right up his alley, but I'll be totally honest with you, I'm more of just super intrigued by this. Christopher Priest is coming back to mainstream comics. What's going to happen? Next up is Supergirl, and out of all the characters in the DC universe who need the most help, right now Supergirl is one of them, because the Supergirl TV series is capturing what is great about that character. It's capturing what people love about that character. It's capturing why that character is important. And none of those things were in the New 52 Supergirl. Oh my gosh, I don't know what they were thinking with the New 52 Supergirl. She had massive anger issues. In fact, the very first solicitations, when they relaunched the New 52, the solicitations for Supergirl was, don't piss her off. Not words that you would think of when you think of Supergirl. Yeah. So I was really hoping that they would come in and redeem this character and save her, because there are so many fans of that TV series who come to the comic shop wanting something with Supergirl in, and not that Supergirl, that Supergirl. And yeah, just look at the cover to this issue. That kind of looks like what we need right now. And it does look like this new series is going to be heavily influenced by that TV series, and that's not a bad thing. I know that there are so many people out there who complain whenever the comics try to be more like the TV series or the movies. This is one of those times in which maybe the comics should take a few notes from that TV series. So yeah, I'm really excited about this. It is going to delve more into the Cyborg Superman, who in the New 52 is actually her father. Yeah, it's weird. But I'm really excited to see someone try and get this character right. However, the person who's going to be doing that is Steve Orlando. Now, Steve Orlando is currently writing Midnighter, and Midnighter is an amazing book. It might be the best book that DC is putting out there. It's fantastic. It is also not something I would think of when I think of Supergirl. This is another weird one. However, I will say one of the things that makes that Midnighter series so amazing is the amount of heart that is in that book. Because Midnighter is a one-man murder machine, but Steve Orlando found a way to give this guy heart. There have been many times in which I've been reading that issue and I've felt those heartstrings getting tugged at. And I was like, oh my gosh, how on earth are you able to do that? So if you can come in with a character who is supposed to be all about heart, and just load up those emotions in there, he might actually be a great pick for it. Also, it's going to deal a lot with the Cyborg Superman, as I said, who is involved with weird Brainiac technology and Kryptonian technology. Steve Orlando actually gets weird technology. So yeah, this is a weird choice, but it might be a weird choice that actually pays off. Next up is Blue Beetle, and if I had to pick one character from the New 52 who needed redemption the most, I would have to go with Blue Beetle. Okay, let's start with a quick history lesson for anybody who doesn't know Blue Beetle and what they did to him in the New 52. Alright, the two most popular Blue Beetles would have to be Jaime Reyes and Ted Kord. Now, Ted Kord was an adventurer. He was a scientist, he was the head of this company, and he found this scarab with a blue beetle on it, and he was like, alright, I'm going to go out there and become this adventurer, Blue Beetle. And he goes out and he invents all these machines, and he was all about fun. He was. His catchphrase was literally just a string of laughter. Wahahahahaha. That was his catchphrase. And him and Booster Gold, they were known for just having fun. They were known for being upbeat and enjoyable. You read their adventures because you wanted to laugh, because you wanted to see two guys who were legitimate friends with each other. And then they shot him in the head. Yeah. That, to many people, was seen as one of the first steps that DC took to move away from their fun side towards their more serious and gruff side. But after he died, that Blue Beetle scarab ended up in the hands of Jaime Reyes. And Jaime Reyes learned that the scarab was actually an advanced alien technology, and it took over his body and gave him this super advanced alien suit that actually allowed him to combat pretty much anybody. Like, it was a machine that could transform into any other machine that he needed to be to face whatever threat he was facing. And if you never read the Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle series, you missed out. Go out there, go on Comixology and read them all because they are fantastic. I have read very few books that had more heart than Blue Beetle did. That series was all about this kid learning about his powers, but also about having a family, having a close-knit community of friends. It was all about growing up, but also growing closer to the people around him. It was such an amazing series to read. And then they brought it back for the New 52, and I was like, yeah, they're bringing Jaime Reyes back. I can't wait to read this. And oh my god, did they f that up. Wow. I almost don't even want to bleep out what I said because it deserves to be said. They f that up. Okay, first off, in the old DC universe, the Scarab, at first it just bleeped out a lot of computer lingo and a lot of beeps and boops like R2-D2 basically, but eventually he learned how to communicate with it and they actually became friends. They grew close. In this New 52 universe, the Scarab was evil. It was from this alien conquering race, which that is true from the old universe, but this Scarab was damaged, so it was like, I don't want to conquer, I don't want to be evil, I want to be friends with Jaime Reyes. This one was straight up like, nope, must eradicate all life forms on Earth, and it was constantly talking to him like, must murder these people. It was like, no, shut up, Scarab, I don't want to listen to you. I was like, what am I reading? Oh my god, this is terrible. And then like he ends up killing one of his friends and he ends up slapping another one of them in order to prove to the Scarab that he is evil so that it won't kill her as well. It's like, what the fudge are you doing? This is an awful interpretation of this character, and I stuck with that book. I stuck with it for so long. And I stuck with it kind of like Homer Simpson did in that episode of The Simpsons where his pig at the barbecue goes rolling down the hill and he's chasing after it and he's like, it's just a little dirty, it's still good, it's still good. That was me reading the New 52 Blue Beetle series. It's like, it's just a little out character, it's still good, it's still good. He's just slapping his friend, it's still good, it's gone. But in this new series, it is going to be written by Keith Giffen, and if you want a book that is fun and upbeat and all about just an enjoyable read, Keith Giffen is the guy to go to. He is the guy who made Ted Kord the character I just described. In fact, his run on Justice League was known as the Wahaha series. It was known for being a fun Justice League series that was all about exciting adventures and just being upbeat and goofy and wacky. And that's kind of what Blue Beetle needs right now. And this series is going to be all about Jaime Reyes teaming up with Ted Kord to try and learn how to use the Scarab. Okay, alright. This sounds like you are going to try and fix everything that you have screwed up with Blue Beetle, and you have picked the perfect writer to put on this book. So, okay, you massively screwed up one of my favorite characters in DC, but it looks like you're taking the steps to correct it, so I'm excited. Plus, Keith Giffen, like I said, he's the guy who made Ted Kord the character that everyone loves, and he's back on Ted Kord. Alright, it looks like you're going to fix both both Blue Beetles. Yeah! Next up, Scott Snyder is returning to a new Batman series, and a lot of people out there have said that Scott Snyder has had the best run on Batman ever. I think he has had a very good run on Batman, but I have had a few problems with it, but at the same time, I fully realize the positives in there, so I'm happy to see him still on Batman, and I know DC is happy to see him still on Batman because that has been their champion series this entire time. Whenever people criticize the New 52, they always have to stop and go, yeah, but Scott Snyder's Batman is good. Like, even the people who hate the New 52 have to stop and admit that Scott Snyder's Batman is good. So they are keeping him on a Batman series. They're going to put him on All-Star Batman, which is a series that is almost cursed because it was this Frank Miller series that a lot of people looked at and went, oh, Frank Miller can't write Batman anymore. So the name All-Star Batman is kind of infamous, so I find it very weird that they're sticking that on there, but he is going to be writing it. He's going to have a rotating staff of artists working on this, and they say that it is going to be focused on Batman's villains. Like, the villains are going to be the start of this. And that's pretty cool because, let's be honest, people love Batman. People are ecstatic about Batman's villains. Like, that is one of the things that makes Batman such an amazing character, is this great cast of villains that rotate around him. So, creating a series that focuses on them actually sounds like a really smart idea. However, you know how I said I have some problems with Scott Snyder's run on Batman? Okay, prepare for one of the most unpopular opinions on the internet. One of the problems I have with that series is the way he writes the villains. Because, am I the only person who's realized he's turned pretty much every Batman villain he's written into the Slender Man? Hold up! Before you jump into those comments, let me make my case. Okay, first villain he wrote was the Court of Owls. He created that team, and I was like, oh my gosh. This team is amazing. The Court of Owls is one of the best new Batman villains I've read in years. This group of villains is fantastic. However, what are the Court of Owls? They're a bunch of dudes in white masks and suits who just stand around, and when Batman tried to face them, he slowly went insane. Kinda like Slender Man. Hold up, I'm not done. Next villain he wrote was Joker during the Death of the Family storyline. And I'll admit, not a lot of Slender Man qualities there. I mean, yes, it is a dude in a white face and a suit. But, you know, aside from that and occasionally just standing at the end of hallways just staring creepily at people, he wasn't that slendery. So, okay, I'll admit, not that Slender Manish. Then he wrote the Riddler in that Year Zero storyline. Okay, Riddler, he totally captured. Riddler was not in any way Slender Man. I will totally say that. However, next, after that, he brought the Joker back for Endgame. And in Endgame, he had the Joker become immortal, and he had the big mystery surrounding the Joker that Batman found all these old photographs throughout the history of Gotham, dating back hundreds of years, and he kept finding the Joker in the background, just mysteriously staring in all these photos. Kinda like Slender Man. Okay, and then next after that, it was Mr. Bloom, which, brother, you're not even trying with this one anymore. Yeah, do I even need to defend why that one was just a Slender Man ripoff? So yes, I'm sorry, he has turned so many of Batman's villains into the Slender Man, and I'm kind of nervous about the idea of him writing a book that is just Batman villains. However, I will say, the first storyline is going to be Two-Face. It's like, okay, I have no idea how you could possibly turn Two-Face into the Slender Man. So I think that this book actually will give him an opportunity to extend his range and not just write all of these characters as a ripoff of an internet meme. I mean, don't get me wrong, Slender Man is creepy as hell, but I don't want to read a book that is just Slender Man Killer Croc, Slender Man Harley Quinn, Slender Man Catwoman. I don't want to read that book over and over and over again. So, I am excited to see him try some new stuff. Although I will say it is worth pointing out that a lot of people were saying, oh, this is a total reboot. Well, it's not really a reboot. Well, it's kind of a reboot. Two-Face is dead in the New 52. So if the first storyline is Two-Face, maybe it is a total reboot? I still don't know. But that is one of those things that I looked at and went, okay, this might be a little bit more rebootish than we thought. Next up, there is finally going to be an ongoing Trinity series. Now, I've been saying for the longest time that we need a Trinity series. They've given Batman and Superman series, they've given Superman and Wonder Woman series. They need to just get the whole team together. That's one of the most iconic things about DC, is that they have those three heroes that everyone knows. So I would love to see them in their own ongoing series. And we're finally going to get that. And it's going to be drawn by Francis Manapul. That guy is an insanely talented artist. He's one of the best artists working today. It's also going to be written by Francis Manapul. At least it'll look pretty. Yeah, listen, Francis Manapul isn't a bad writer. He's just a very okay writer. However, I will say that when he writes what he draws, his art is on point. I mean, just look at his Flash series. I'll admit, his Flash series, it wasn't that exciting, but it looked so damn good. It is one of the only series out there that I have ever picked up just to look at the art. It's one of the few times in which I actually just said, I don't care what this story is, I will pay money just to look at these pages. So, yeah, I don't really care what the story is. This book will at least look amazing. So, there's that. That's good. Okay, we're moving into the final 4 books now, and thank goodness because this episode is going long. But okay, first up is Teen Titans. It's going to be written by Benjamin Percy, who is the same guy who's been writing Green Arrow and not much else. And if you saw that first episode I did, I said I haven't been reading Benjamin Percy's Green Arrow, so I know nothing of him. However, John Boy Mayers is going to be drawing it, and thank goodness, because John Boy Mayers has been around for a while, and he's never really been on anything big, even though I've always liked his stuff. But for some reason, he just never really gets big books. Like the last book he did was Spawn, and my apologies go out to everyone who is a fan of Spawn, but John Boy Mayers is bigger than Spawn. So yeah, I'm glad to see him on Teen Titans, and looking at this cast, this looks like a fun book. And thank goodness, because I mentioned how Blue Beetle was the #1 character who needed redemption. Teen Titans is the #1 team that's needed redemption. Oh my gosh. They not only scrapped their entire history, which they are now desperately trying to patch back together, but also the current team has been, I don't even know what the current team has been. Currently, in the latest Teen Titans series, they are kind of getting back to that sense of family, and these are people who care about each other. But I never really get a sense of fun when I read that book. I mean, they still seem kind of serious about what they're doing, which, don't get me wrong, they should be serious about being superheroes, but I don't get that feeling of family and fun that defined the Teen Titans for me. That was the defining thing about them. The Justice League was a job. The Teen Titans was a family. And I've been wanting to get that back ever since. And looking at this, and looking at the tone of this entire rebirth, I am really hoping that that's what we're going to get back. First off, just looking at the members of this new Teen Titans team, they all look like teenage superheroes. Aside from Starfire, who is like the older adult supervisor of the team, which that's fine. Alright, fine. You want to do that? As long as we get Starfire back on the Teen Titans, that's all I care about. Speaking of which, any chance we could get Cyborg on this team? As I said, the Teen Titans was always a family, and going back to what I said at the beginning of this episode when I was talking about the Cyborg book, Cyborg kind of needs that. He kind of needs just some buddies to pal around with. And yeah, he can still be on the Justice League, but on the weekends, it'd be kind of cool if he could just go and chill with the Titans. I don't know, maybe that's just me. But anyway, that's not the big thing that everybody is talking about. The big thing that everyone is talking about is that Raven finally looks like Raven again. Okay, not everyone is talking about that, but I'm excited about that. No, the thing that everyone's talking about is that Damian is finally going to be joining the Teen Titans, and this is another unpopular opinion that's about to come up. Listen, I like Damian. I do. However, I've always kind of found him to be a bit of a dick, and part of the thing that makes me feel that way about him is that he is just too perfect. I get that he is the son of Batman. I get that he was trained by the League of Assassins ever since he was a child. But this is a guy who can like take out the world's strongest assassins even though he's 10 years old. And he's smarter than almost any other adult superhero out there already at his age. And he's got insanely giant feats of strength under his belt. Yeah, man, I'm kind of tired of Damian acting like he is the toughest, baddest dude around, and I'm kind of tired of it constantly being proven. Now, I will admit I've really been enjoying the current Damian Son of Batman series, and one of the reasons why I've really been enjoying it is because that series is all about making Damian human. It's not about having him be this perfect cinnamon roll that is too precious for this world. It is a series that is all about him saying, listen, I've done some messed up stuff. I've done stuff that I am not proud of, and I have to go out there and redeem myself. I have to go out there and try and fix the mistakes that I've made. And I like that. I like looking at Damian as a human with flaws, who does have problems and does have a troubled past that he is ashamed of and is trying to fix these things. And if that was the Damian that was going to show up in this book, a Damian who was more humbled and came in and said, listen, one of my problems is that I don't know how to connect with other people. I don't know anything about teamwork. I don't know how to get along with other people my age, and you're a bunch of other superheroes in a team my age. Maybe we could try just being friends. Maybe I can come in here and just learn how to work with you guys. If that was the Damian that was going to be in this book, I would love to read that story. However, that is not the Damian we're going to get. The description for this book says that Damian is basically just going to kick the door down to Titan's Tower and say, listen, I'm here to lead you guys whether you like it or not. And I don't like it. I'm really hoping on this one, that in issue 1, when Damian breaks in and says, I am here to lead you guys whether you like it or not, it then just says, 2 minutes later. And then you just see Damian just tied to a chair with a sock in his mouth. And then the other Titans are like, yeah, this little kid just broke in. Should we call up Bats and let him know that his kid is here so that he can come and pick him up? No, he's not allowed on this team. And then Damian has to prove to them that he is smart enough to be on this team. That would be fun. I would love to see that. Plus, as I said, Damian is a character who really needs to be humbled, and that would do it. Also, before I move on to the next book, someone left a comment in one of my previous DC videos in which they said they were kind of getting sick of Damian as Robin, and they really wish that Duke would come in and be the new Robin. Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you. In fact, if you've been reading the current Scott Snyder Batman series, pretty much all of that has been leading up to Duke being the new Robin. So yeah, I would far rather Duke be the new Robin and Damian go on and become something else, become the new Red Robin or whatever, create some new title for him. But also, I was thinking about all the stuff that Duke has done as Robin, about his age, and where he is in his life and the struggles that he's going through, and I realized I would so much rather have Duke on the Teen Titans with that team than Damian, because again, Duke right now is without a family. He's without a home. He doesn't know what to do with his life. He could really use a family, such as the Teen Titans. Also, Damian is like 5 years younger than anybody else on that Teen Titans crew. Duke is about the right age. He would fit in perfectly there. I would so much rather have Duke on that team. But, that's just me. Let me know in the comments down below how you feel. Okay, next up, Batman Beyond is coming back, and the big news with this is that Terry McGinnis is going to be Batman Beyond again. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. I mentioned that Blue Beetle was the character who needed redemption the most. Batman Beyond was second, because some of you might be wondering, why on earth are you excited about Terry McGinnis being Batman Beyond? Wasn't he always Batman Beyond? Okay, here's the thing. Batman Beyond was created as a cartoon, and it was a great cartoon. I love that cartoon. And Terry McGinnis was Batman Beyond. However, a few years ago, they tried to bring Batman Beyond into the official DC universe, and they said this was going to be the actual future of DC Comics. And in that one, Batman Beyond was Terry McGinnis, and he came from an alternate reality future where OMAC had completely taken over the world, and it was basically the Terminator future in which everyone was being hunted down and turned into OMACs, and he went back in time to try and stop it, and he ended up 5 years in our future, and in the 5 years in our future, but not his future, he died, and the Tim Drake of 5 years in our future took his suit, then went back to his future where the OMACs were running over, but some things had changed, so OMAC wasn't fully taking over, and so if you've been reading the Batman Beyond series from the past few months, that has been Tim Drake from 5 years in our future in the Batman Beyond future. DC, do you understand when I say that your world is confusing? But yes, they have confirmed that Terry McGinnis will be Batman Beyond again, and that's great because we love Terry McGinnis. All the people out there who watched that cartoon and love Batman Beyond, they didn't just love that it's Batman in the future. I mean, that was really cool, but that wasn't the thing that made us really love that show. It was that we genuinely liked Terry McGinnis. And we didn't like him because he was a soldier fighting against the Terminator OMAX in the apocalyptic future. No, we loved him because of his world, because of his villains, because of his life and his setting and all that stuff around him, all of which was erased and gone. So yes, they have confirmed that Terry McGinnis is going to be Batman Beyond again. And let me just say, don't try and explain how he came back to life, or what happened to Tim Drake, or where all the OMACs are. No, it's set in the future, which means it can change depending on what happens in the present. And since Rebirth is this big change, just say that that timeline of 5-year future Tim Drake and all those OMAC things, that doesn't happen. Didn't happen, none of it happened, and we're just now set back in a world where Terry McGinnis is growing up. He loses his dad, meets up with Bruce Wayne, becomes Batman Beyond, and now he's fighting crime in future Gotham. That's it. You do not have to explain how that happened. We're all fine with him just showing up, okay? Everybody cool with that? We're all cool with it. Alright, good. Do it, DC. Okay, only 2 books left. Let's get into it. First one, Super Sons. Super Sons sounds like a ton of fun and the art looks great on it. This is going to be an ongoing series that is all about the adventures of Damian Wayne and the son of Superman. Now, I'm going to try and sum this up really quick for you guys, but basically the Superman that we have in the Rebirth universe is the Superman that came from the pre-New 52 universe, and he does have a son with Lois Lane. So it's going to be that kid teaming up with Damian Wayne, and I am really excited about this because, as I said, the number one thing that I want to see happen to Damian is just to see him be humbled and be more human. And having an ongoing series where Damian actually forms a friendship with another kid his age is kind of what Damian needs. Damian needs to have a friend. So this book is the Damian Gets a Friend book, and I'm excited about that. And the last book is Superwoman. Now it's been confirmed that the Superwoman in this series is going to be Lois Lane. Now, since I recorded that first episode in which we talked about the Superman books, and we said, what the heck happened to the Superman in the New 52 universe, the newest issues of Superman in Action Comics have come out, and in those issues, it starts off with Superman saying, I'm dying. This is not a hoax, this is not a prank, I am actually dying. He says it comes from 3 things. The first one is from the Justice League of America series where he recently fought the God of Krypton, and he did indeed take a big pounding from that. Secondly, it comes from the Justice League Darkseid War series where he was thrown into one of the fire pits on Apocalypse and he absorbed the weird anti-sunlight of that and he became this dark god creature. Yeah, that will mess up your body. And lastly, it's because he recently had all of his powers taken away and the only way that he could get his powers back was by swimming in kryptonite. Yeah, so his body's messed up and he has basically said there's no way around this. I'm dying. It's happening. I'm not going to make it through this. And yeah, I gotta admit, it was really touching reading that. It actually tugged at my heartstrings and made me feel kind of bad for this New 52 Superman. I've talked some smack about him over the years, but reading that issue, I was like, oh my god, they finally got Superman right. He's finally acting like Superman again. And it's right before he dies. This makes me feel terrible. I don't know what to say now. So it does look like he is going to leave his powers to Lois Lane and she is going to become Superwoman. And I'm torn on this. I am. Because I love Lois Lane. She's one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. So I would love it if she had a series, but I would kind of rather it be just her doing some hardcore journalism in a world full of superheroes. I think that would be a far better book for Lois Lane. But this at the same time does still sound really cool. It sounds like an awesome pitch. It also kind of sounds a little bit like Spider-Gwen. Kind of sounds like they're just going, oh, let's take the love interest of one of these heroes and give them their powers. I don't know, maybe I'm just being cynical. I'm just being cynical, aren't I? But the other reason why I'm a little bit hesitant on this book is because it reveals a little bit more about this Rebirth. Now, I thought that pre-New 52 Superman and Lois Lane were going to come in and they were going to retcon out the New 52 one and put the pre-New 52 Superman Lois Lane in there and have them just have existed throughout all time and they were the main Superman and Lois Lane of this universe. I thought that's how they were going to do it, so that we only had one Superman and one Lois Lane to worry about. But looking at this, it makes it pretty clear to me that that's not what they're doing. They are indeed going to have it be so that the Clark Kent and Lois Lane and Superman of the New 52 universe, they still existed. And then that Superman died off. And then that Lois Lane kept on going, and now there's a new Superman and Lois Lane, and they're also going along. I need graphs for this. One of the things that I wanted Rebirth to do was to clear up some confusions and make a clear-cut timeline. Yeah. Now I don't think they're going to do that. Now let me be clear, this new concern that I have is not a reflection of this book. This book does sound fun, especially when I read that Lana Lang would be the only other person that knows that Lois is Superwoman, so the two of them have to work together. That sounds like a fun team. I really do want to read this book. It's just that this is a new piece of information that I have learned about Rebirth, and it makes me a little bit concerned because it means that this timeline might still be a little bit jumbled up. But that's just how I feel about this. Let me know in the comments how you feel about each of these books. Let me know which book from all Rebirth are you looking forward to the most. Also, if you missed part 1 and part 2 of my Rebirth coverage, they'll be right there. There you go. And if you want to see more comic book geekery from me every single week on this channel, then make sure that you hit that subscribe button. But that's not all. We also cover everything from the world of geekery, whether it be video games, movies, cartoons. If it's considered geeky, we're going to talk about it here on this channel, so make sure that you come back every single week. And thank you guys so much for all the love you've been showing me lately. We've been getting a ton of new subscribers. I know it's all because you guys have been sharing this all around the web. So keep that up. It means so much to me. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and thank you for watching.